other day.
Reading a book?
Yes, it's all about civilization or something. A nutty kind of a book. Do you know that the guy says that machinery is going to take the place of every profession?
What do you say?
No.
Tomorrow night?
No.
Next year?
No.
Good. Because by me it's this way. The longer they know, the harder they yes.
Well, I don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary.
Don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary. One of the topics I want to talk about today. But first, I've got him. He is the president of American Experiment, John Hinderaker. John, thank you very much for coming on today.
Glad to be with you, Al.
I was thinking about this. I know how I kind of got. I've been kind of, I don't know, politically minded, but watching stuff since I was a kid. The Nixon thing, I remember watching that on TV and just fascinated by it. But not like hardcore. I started 35, 40 years ago, little cable thing, talking to the mayor on TV, and now it's become this. How long have you been in the world of politics as far as with the American Experiment before? How did you get into this?
Wow, that's a good question. So I grew up in a conservative family in South Dakota, a Republican family.
Whereabouts in South Dakota? I'm from Huron. Where are you from?
Watertown.
There we go.
The big city, man. The big city.
All right, fair. Interrupted. Go on. So you started with a conservative family in South Dakota.
And then when I was young, I became a liberal, whatever. But I was really pretty apolitical.
Okay.
And I was working really hard, and I didn't have a lot of time for things like politics, but I became a conservative during the Reagan administration because the successes of that administration, both in domestic policy and foreign policy, were so obvious that I rethought my views about politics. And then I became a political activist, starting by writing op-eds for newspapers. And that began about 1990. And from then on, I just got deeper and deeper into the world of politics, punditry, media.
Okay.
Started a website, played a role in the 2004 presidential campaign that was memorable. And anyway, got involved with American Experiment way back when in the 1990s. And so now I'm doing it full time.
Well, you ever think a little guy from South Dakota, and here you are running the biggest think tank in Minnesota and doing this? It's interesting how we get where we got, I guess is what I want to put out. Let me throw this at you. And the little opener talked about honesty, and I don't want to be honorable with you if I don't have to. Is there a playbook for politicians that literally says most Americans can only remember 5 days from yesterday or something? Because here's a couple of things that came out. Fry was out yesterday, Mayor Fry, and some reporter asked if possibly their rhetoric on that side was part of the problem. And he was completely upset about it. What are you talking about? Name one thing I've ever said. I'm all about the people and everybody being nice and calm. And literally they go to the next cut of him telling everybody a week ago, get the F out of here, and everything I said is BS. The governor, I'm going to throw a couple at you, governor comes out talking about Thompson, the guy who resigned, the U.S. attorney. Joe is a principal public servant who spent many decades achieving justice for Minnesotans. He loves this guy. Like, I don't remember 1 week ago he said this guy would be fired by any other firm he shouldn't be, or he's an idiot and he should get sued for defamation. It was only a week ago. Am I missing something? Do they believe?
You're right, Al. And Walls a week ago said, I've never said anything bad about ICE. And so we put out a clip from our podcast last week. Got over 4 million views, by the way, on social media. And it showed Tim Walz saying that, and then it 5 times when he called ICE the Gestapo, and so forth, But to your point, Al, these are politicians who have gotten themselves elected more than once, right? So if they think the voters are dumb and can't remember what they said a week ago, maybe they're right.
Okay, well, let's just say in the reverse then, Wall says, show me one place I've ever said anything bad about the ICE. Yesterday, in his little video thing where he's supposed to be calming people down, Walz said, end the occupation. It is a conspiracy of organized brutality against people in Minnesota. Is that calming the rhetoric down? This is an occupation, a conspiracy of organized brutality? I,
A
again,
conspiracy to enforce a conspiracy to enforce the federal laws. Tim Walz is an insurrectionist.
okay.
He is the Jefferson Davis of the 21st century. We have not seen this kind of resistance to federal authority since 1861. People
Mhm.
talk about the civil rights era, George Wallace, Ross Barnett, and so forth in the late 50s and early 60s, but actually this is more insurrection. That was not insurrectionist. Well, what Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and others are doing now really is more of a direct resistance to federal law than anything that went on then. So I think you have to go back to 1861 to find a time
Can
things
we
like
just go back to January 6th? Walsh was saying, and my wife, even her head just jumped up when this happened because she goes, didn't I hear those words before? He literally said, after all this organized crime stuff, he says, there's 4 steps, go take videos, do this and this, but peacefully. And I'm like, those were the exact words Trump said, walk down there peacefully, do your thing. But that was insurrection 2 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're using
yeah.
the exact same
Yeah,
phrasing and
that's one of
expecting
the
me to
ironies.
forget.
That's one of the ironies, is that they branded that protest an insurrection, and they're encouraging people to interfere with federal law enforcement activity, which is a crime.
Yeah. How long do you think this can go on? And my point of view before we go to break. So now last night, they're enforcing a traffic stop. ICE is. The guy they stop runs away. There's a chase. 2 other guys come out. There's 1 ICE agent, and the guy they were originally after comes after him with either a broom or a shovel, or both. They're figuring this out, and he shoots him in the leg. Can the Democrats stick up for this guy like they stuck up for Miss Good a week ago? And how long can we continue to go down? If we keep doing this, there's going to be more stories to come. I mean, it's just a matter of time until some other knucklehead does something. This was actually the guy they were after got shot. Can the Democrats defend that?
I don't think so. I don't think they'll try. I think they'll keep riding the Renee Good thing, which they shouldn't be able to defend either. There'll be an investigation, and it doesn't matter who does the investigation. The feds are going to investigate. Tim Walz wants the BCA also to investigate. Go ahead. Feel free. It is not a close case. Anyone who investigates will conclude that was a justified shooting.
Yeah. Then let me throw this at you, because the Minneapolis police chief was out last night after this shooting, and he said a couple of things, and I'm like, okay, finally he's on there telling people. He said that the police were there and they're getting stressed and it's a lot of work, and they really, really do a favor. He said people are actually, the mob was doing illegal things, including throwing things at the cops, shooting fireworks at the cops. And then he says, I'm asking you all to go home. It hit my ear so weird, John, that the Minneapolis police chief is saying that they're shooting bottle rockets at my people and I'd like them to go home. Shouldn't you be picked up and thrown in the hooskow somewhere, or you're just going to say, that was kind of fun, nothing happened, I'm going out tomorrow night? You know what I'm saying? It seems weird the police chiefs go home. No, you shot at my people. Maybe I'm nuts.
Well, Minnesota's a funny place, Al. Things happen here I'm with a group of people from around the country. I'm in Florida right now, and they just marvel at what happens in Minnesota. I mean, nobody from other states really can believe it. What needs to happen. I don't know what the total number of these so-called protesters that have been arrested over the last, whatever it's been, couple of weeks. I don't know what that number adds up to. But I think it's 50, 60, 70, 80. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is it's catch and release. Nothing is going to happen to those people. No. Absolutely nothing. If their case ever comes in front of a judge, it'll just be dismissed. If everybody who got arrested for criminally interfering with law enforcement in one of these so-called protests, just a week in jail would be enough. Yeah. Stop doing it. But they keep doing it, and the result of that, people are going to get hurt. People are going to get hurt. You can't have this kind of chaos. But make no mistake about it. It is Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and all these other public officials. They want chaos. They are encouraging chaos. They are inciting chaos because they think it serves their political purposes. And the inevitable result of that chaos is people are going to get hurt. We've already seen that.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's going to get any better. Let's go to break. I want to ask you if the chaos is that they want, it takes a lot of stuff off the front page that we would otherwise be spending plenty of time on. We'll talk about that with John Hinderaker with the American Experiment right after this.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Amongst friends, the Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
I've got him, John Hinderaker, president of the American Experiment. John, there has been no publication, if that you want your website, nobody that's done more extensive detailed work of the fraud that's been going on here in Minnesota since whatever, 2018, 2017, whatever you want to say it started, than the American Experiment. You have the fraud tracker. You guys have been on top of all this. A friend of mine asked if possibly what happened last week was a diversion, a planned diversion to get us to stop talking about that. I said I don't believe that. I think the chaos is, you were bringing up the chaos, I think the chaos is knowing if you stir the pot enough, something big enough will happen to get it off the front page. Yesterday we had the Deputy Secretary of HHS on saying they're coming here, they're going to keep looking into it, and what do you know? Then no one's talking about that today because a person was shot last night. Now, I don't think they plan each of those actions, but they know if they stir this pot enough, that other stuff's not going to be talked about. Will the fraud get back to the front page, or has it been successfully put the back burner and not going to be an issue in 2026?
Well, it'll be an issue in 2026. It certainly has been put on the back burner for now. And the fact that Joe Thompson and his entire white-collar crime staff at the U.S. Attorney's Office resigned abruptly, or was fired, whichever version you want to take, is going to set back those prosecutions. You know, Joe Thompson announced that that at least half of the $18 billion spent on Medicaid programs over the last several years, their investigation indicates was fraudulent. And those prosecutions have been rumored to be imminent, the first of them. Well, they certainly will be set back to some extent, but they're not going to be set back until November, So they'll be back in the news. But I do think, to answer your question, yeah, I think it's deliberate. I think that Tim Walz and others who know that, Tim Walz dropped out of the race. He couldn't run on his record over the last 8 years, and he knew it. Well, nobody else can run on that record either, And so distraction is the goal. And I think inciting this chaos is a strategy to distract voters from all the other issues. And it's not just the fraud. It's the fact that our schools are now subpar. The fact for the first time in our history, Minnesota is now a relatively poor state. Our per capita GDP is now below the national average. That's never happened before. That happened on Tim Walz's watch. The fact that we have much more crime than we did 8 years ago. Nobody can defend that record. And so what they're looking for is to change the subject.
With my last 3 minutes, let me ask you talk about the election. Governor Walz pulls out better part of 10 days ago now. I think we're almost at 2 weeks. And he had talked with Senator Klobuchar the day before. This is what we're hearing. He pulls out on a Monday. And everybody said, well, she'll wait a week because you don't want to look like you're jumping on it, like I had it all figured out the next day. But now we're getting to that second going on a third week, sir. Is this spotlight of what's going on in Minnesota too shiny for even Senator Klobuchar to jump in? That obviously, once she gets in, headlines, everybody's, why is she not in yet? We're weeks away from the caucuses.
Yeah, I can't answer that question, Al. The report in the New York Times that came out like the day she met with Walz and told him he had to drop out, apparently. The word was she has been called upon by her party to come back from Washington and run for governor. But you're absolutely right. She hasn't said a word about it, to my knowledge, and she certainly hasn't done it. She hasn't filed. And at this point, nobody's filed that I know of. So we have Tim Walz saying, I'm not going to run. I changed my mind. And everybody believing that Amy Klobuchar was going to bite the bullet on behalf of her party and leave the Senate to come back to run for governor. So far, it hasn't happened. Now, I still think it probably will happen. There obviously was a plan here. They didn't force Walz out without having an idea where they were going to go. So I assume that it's going to happen, but I agree with you that it's a little odd that we're 2 weeks out from the caucuses, and here we are. Nobody
would think, if anything, there's some sideline Democrats somewhere who always wanted to, but knew they were in the way with Walz and Amy and all the rest, who doesn't say, I got a shot. I think it's $300 to run for governor. You got to go file. I think it's $300. Go file. Give yourself a shot. No one is in right now. There are like 15 Republicans, no Democrats. Put your name on the board. You'll at least get famous for a while. I'm going to run out of time, and I don't want to do this, sir. You guys always have cool stuff coming up. I don't know how many people in Naples are going to hear us, but maybe some fine folks in Minnesota are heading that way. You've got a big deal going on with Mr. Wright, Jason Lewis, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So every year, there are so many Minnesotans down here in Florida. Every year we do an event in Naples. And our event this year is on February, I think it's the 16th. Let me just double check.
It is the 16th. Yep.
Yeah, it's February 16th. That's the President's Day. So if any of our listeners happen to be in Southwest Florida next month, please do come to our event. Last year we had 275 people there. It was a tremendous event. This year, Jason Lewis is going to be sharing the podium with me, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't want to say anything about the way you run your business, or I would never do that, but it seems interesting to me as we're going to hit a few hundred degrees below zero here. You've got one in Naples, Florida, on February 16th, and let's go to Phoenix in March. We'll talk about that another time, but it seems like your company tends to find the warm weather climates, my friend. Well done.
Well done,
I say.
We go where our friends are in the winter, and we have a lot of friends who come down to Florida or go down to Arizona in the winter.
I love it. I just spotted that. Appreciate you, my friend. I'm out of time. We'll get you back next week. He's John Hinderaker, president of the American Experiment.
Think about it.